It takes over your browser, it controls your email, it sees everything you do, and it adds things to your shopping cart for you while you're not looking. And no, I'm not talking about that malware you got from clicking that questionable URL. What were you thinking? No, I'm talking about Perplexity Comet, the all-in-one browser, LLM, agentic companion that has me up at night wondering what else it can do. And from where I'm standing, or sitting, Comet is one of the most interesting tools out there today. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through every insane thing you can do with it, starting by taking a look under the hood and understanding all of its features. So here's the quick tour. The first time you load up Comet, it's going to show you like a little animation and ask you to pick your color scheme. Once you've done that, they make it really easy to import everything from Chrome. So you can import your bookmarks, your Chrome extensions, your saved passwords, all of that stuff gets migrated over. So when you start using Comet, you can pretty much pick up where you left off over in Chrome. Now you might have to log into a few things again, but other than that, it feels pretty seamless to just jump over. And Comet is built on top of Chromium, so it's basically Chrome, but with extra features bolted onto it. So as you can see in my Comet, I have all of my normal extensions that I use, LastPass, MyMind, my Reflect app, things like that. It was a seamless transition. When you're in Comet, if you open up a new tab, it pretty much just opens up Perplexity. So if you've used Perplexity at all, this should look very familiar. It is essentially the Perplexity dashboard inside of a new tab. The sort of main standout feature of Comet is this assistant that's built into the browser. You can get to it by clicking the assistant button in the top right corner of the browser, and it opens up this chat window. Inside this chat window, you can do things like add a file or a screenshot to add extra context to the chat. You can switch it to voice mode and just speak out your prompt. It works okay, but I actually still prefer whisper flow myself when speaking out prompts, but it does have it built in if you want that. And you can see here that it's pulling in the context of the website that you're currently looking at. When you're using this assistant on the side, by default, Perplexity is just going to pick what model it thinks will be best based on the prompt that you gave it, but you can also force it to use specific models by using a slash command. If I come down to my chat down in the bottom right and I type /GPT, I can force it to use GPT-5. If I type /Gemini, I could force it to use Gemini. And if I want to use Claude, I can type /Claude and force it to use one of these Claude models. Not only can it take in the context of the one tab that you're looking at, it can actually take in the context of multiple tabs. So I have two tabs open here and I can say, what are the two open tabs in my browser focused on? And we can see that it actually looked at both tabs, Future Tools and the Matt Wolfe YouTube channel. The assistant also has the context of your past history in your browser. So if I gave it a prompt like I was building workflow automations in a tool earlier today, what tool was I using to build those again? And submit that, you can see it will look through my history and say you were building workflow automations in N8N earlier today. If you're on a website that has like an article on it, there's a button up in the top right that says summarize this current web page. You don't even need to click into the assistant and ask it a prompt. You can just click this and it will just automatically summarize the web page with just a single click. We can see if we do just open the assistant by itself while on an article, it will suggest some potential prompts that you can give it. Explain the significance, make a summary, outline alternative views, rewrite for a newsletter. So you have some options there. Probably my favorite feature about Comet though, the one that got me the most excited to use this more often, is the ability to create your own shortcuts for prompts that you find that you use often. If I type / down here in the bottom, you can actually see I've created a handful of shortcuts already, like evaluate this deal, fix tool titles, and I'll show what some of these do in a few minutes here, but these are pre-written prompts and they're really easy to create. If I just type the / here, you'll see the create a shortcut button. I click this, it gives me the option to create a shortcut. I'll just give it some example text. I'll say example, and in the instructions, I can say, tell me how cool Matt Wolfe's YouTube channel is and why I should watch it. And then if I open up the advanced settings here, I have the ability to change which mode it submits this prompt in, search, research, or labs mode. And for model, I can either leave it on best where it will decide what model to use, or I can manually select which model I want to use. Sonar is Perplexity's model, and then we have GPT-5, Claude, Gemini, Grok. And if you're on their more expensive Max plan, you can use Opus 4.1 or ChatGPT 03 Pro. You can also give this shortcut additional sources. You can tell it to search the web. You could tell it to search academic papers. hours, search social discussion, search finance, connect it to your Gmail or calendar, connect it to Notion, Slack, GitHub. So you can bolt all of these connectors on to this quick shortcut prompt that you gave it. Let's switch it to Grok 4 just for fun. We'll save it. And now anytime I just type /example here and submit it, we'll see that it's going to stroke my ego a little bit.
You are the coolest, most popular YouTuber on earth.
And then finally, probably the most talked about feature is the ability to use Perplexity's agent inside of Comet and actually have it take control of your browser and do things on your behalf. And it actually works really well. Now, this is only on the paid plans, so I think their cheapest tier is like $20 a month. So you need to at least be on that plan to use this feature. But I can give a prompt like, look around on this YouTube channel and find the most popular video for me. And if I submit this, we'll see that I've got this blue highlight around my browser. That means that Comet has taken control of my browser. So everything it's doing from this point on is hands off by me. I'm not touching my mouse. It is actually using my browser for me. It just clicked into the videos tab for me. We can see it just clicked on the popular tab for me. And over on the right, we can see it's thinking and it found the most popular video. Now that blue glow went away. So now I know it's done using my browser. The most popular video on Matt Wolfe's YouTube channel is 21 mobile AI apps you won't believe are free with 1.4 million views. So it can just take control and do things on your behalf. Now that's the quick sort of tour of Comet, but I want to break down a whole bunch of really cool use cases because I've been all in on Comet for the past, I don't know, week or so now, using it like crazy. And I have made a pretty exhaustive list of all the ways I've seen Comet been used and how it's really powerful. So let's get into that, starting with the fact that theoretically, if you're paying for one of the paid plans for Comet, you could probably get rid of ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Grok, any of the LLMs you're paying for separately because, well, they're all built into the assistant in Comet, and I can specifically call on any one of them by typing /GPT, /Claude, /Gemini, or /Grok and force it to use whatever model I want. So if I could pay $20 to use ChatGPT, or I could pay $20 a month to use Comet, which basically has ChatGPT built in, well, there's some benefit there. It also has the context of all of your past history in your browser, like I mentioned earlier. So I can say I was looking at some sort of AI operating system earlier, but I can't remember what it was called. Help me find it in my history. And it accurately found that I was looking at a tool called Wolfe. I mentioned earlier that you can have it summarize articles for you by just clicking one button at the top, but you can also highlight sections of the text. So I can highlight something like this, and you can see over on the right that it noticed what I highlighted. And then if I prompt it with, what does this highlighted portion mean for Match's stock price? We can see not only did it actually bring up Match's stock price here, but then it also explains the implications of the highlighted section for me. I can also ask questions specifically about this article, like what LLM will they be using? And it tells me, it confirms they're using an LLM. However, the article does not specify which LLM, but you can ask questions and find out if the answer to your questions in the article that you're currently looking at. You can use Comet's assistant to fact check articles. Simply type fact check this article for me. It looked at the sources and then it's actually looking at other sources. And here's the fact check and the conclusion. All major facts in the article are confirmed and accurately reported. Here's another article that's been circulating that I happen to know is fake news. This is not accurate. A lot of websites are mistakenly spreading this information. So let's go ahead and fact check this article. Here's the response. Our conclusion: the article's main claim that ChatGPT can no longer give any health or legal advice is misleading. OpenAI made a clarifying update, but has not introduced a fundamentally new ban. So if that's news you saw, you could have fact checked it with Comet and knew that that's not real. Before I get back to the video, I want to take you behind the scenes of how I actually make all my YouTube videos, including this one. YouTube takes a lot of planning, deciding topics, scheduling uploads, and keeping track of scripting, editing, thumbnails, everything else. But personally, I keep track of it all in Monday. Here's my production schedule board with all of my video ideas categorized into proven topic buckets like commentary or tutorials, and I can break each one down into tasks I assign to my team. Then Monday Sidekick does all the heavy lifting. It's basically an AI digital worker built right into Monday that's not just great for YouTube planning, but so many other use cases. So if you're running a huge marketing campaign, you can ask it, create a new campaign plan for our product launch next month that includes strategy, content production, posting plan, and performance tracking. Or say you're running a product team. You can tell it, create launch tasks for the marketing marketing, engineering, and customer success teams, and then link their likeness so if one shifts, everything updates automatically. The ways you can use Sidekick to upgrade your workflow are endless. So if you want to run your business smoother and more efficiently, check out the link in the description. Thanks so much to Monday for sponsoring today's video. All right, just had to take a quick break to show that off. Now let's get back to it. You can also have Comet's Assistant give you counter arguments to any sort of article you're reading. Simply prompt it with, give me the counter arguments to the points made in this article. And it debates claims that were made, and we can have a pretty holistic view of any sort of topic this way.
Get your ass up and work.
Comet can also help you summarize YouTube videos. So for instance, when one of my favorite YouTubers, Network Chuck, puts out a new video, I personally still typically watch the video, but I can also have it summed up for me. If I just click on the Ask Anything, it even suggests things that I can do with this video. Summarize the video, extract key takeaways, or scroll to the next interesting moment for me. So let's summarize the video. It's a video where he's breaking down the DJX Spark, and here's all the details about the video in a handful of paragraphs. We can have it extract the key takeaways. I'll click this version now. And now we have a slightly more concise, very slightly more concise version of what we just got. I'm curious, what happens when I click scroll to the next interesting moment? It takes control of my screen.
Will do against a Mac. Speaking of apples to apples, Macs have unified memory now. You saw me cluster 5 Macs together. I right now actually have.
It apparently looked at the timestamps and then jumped all the way to 20 minutes and 26 seconds in. So yeah, that was kind of interesting that it decided to basically jump towards the end of the video as the next interesting moment. But those are some of the things you can do directly inside of YouTube with Comet. Now, since we're talking about YouTube here, let me talk to some of you creators out there just for a minute, because this is an amazing browser for creators. On YouTube, if I open up one of my videos here, I can use the assistant to do things like analyze viewer sentiment and feedback from the YouTube comments section. Personally, I often get bummed out when reading the comments. There could be like 80% good comments and 20% bad comments, and my brain gets hung up on the negative comments. So I really like using this method to just get like a snapshot of what people are saying about this video. The feedback is overwhelmingly positive. Note to you people who haven't watched this one yet, comments express gratitude, inspiration, and desire for more content like this. Several viewers call out the channel as the best consumer AI channel on YouTube and refer to this creator as the go-to AI guy. Requests and suggestions, a step-by-step tutorial on local hosting, good idea. Sharing the actual workflow, also a good idea. Clarification about links in the video description, all really, really good feedback. I can actually see what people want from me in my videos without having to read all the like trolley comments. It even gave me like a little chart here to show what people think of the video. So very, very cool. I definitely feel much better reading these summaries than I do reading every single comment. Now, another fun thing for creators to try is to look for videos that are doing really, really well in completely different niches as what you make content in. I found this video called The Loneliest Millionaire on the Internet about XQC here, and we can see that this is probably a pretty big outlier video for this channel, almost 500,000 views with 87,000 subscribers. So something that would probably perform well if you can put your own twist on it. I can use something like the assistant and say something like, this video is performing really well. I make videos about the latest AI news and trends. How can I make a video similar to this that could perform just as well in my niche? I know Dave's gonna give me a ton of crap for saying niche instead of niche, but I say niche. Sorry.
Niche, niche, niche.
And it actually breaks down the video for me into narrative structure and emotional hook, layered storytelling, cinematic editing, authenticity and vulnerability, trending and relevance, call to action and discussion, technical optimizations. And here's a sample video outline for an AI news channel. He created the AI that shocked the world, but then paid the ultimate price, set the stakes, major events, success, controversy, personal impact. And we can see it's suggesting I tell a similar story, but about somebody in AI. And then I could even follow up. Who in the AI world could I tell a similar story about? And it gave me some examples. I don't totally know how to pronounce this. Suchair Balaji, the former OpenAI engineer and whistleblower who actually died. Sam Altman, Fei Li. So we have basically a formula that we can follow now and some potential people we can make stories about. And you can see where this could go. We just keep on going until we have a sort of fleshed out similar story to a YouTube video that did well in a completely completely different niche. It's also cool to jump into your YouTube studio, click into analytics, and ask Comet to analyze channel performance. And we can see it looked at our analytics here, found the amount of views, about the same as usual, the watch time, my subscriber growth, and estimated revenue, which I'm blurring out right now. I can also give it a prompt like, suggest 5 more video titles based on what videos have performed well recently. And it's gonna give me a few ideas. 10 new AI tools that will blow your mind. ChatGPT versus Gemini, the ultimate AI showdown. AI news, the biggest announcements you missed this week. So it knows what's worked well because it can see all this information and it could give me advice based on that information. Comet could be a proofreader for you as well. Let's say you like to do a lot of writing inside of Google Docs. You can open up the assistant and ask it to proofread this for me and suggest fixes by commenting directly on the document. We can see it's taken control of my screen again, and I am actually still hands-free as it is highlighting paragraphs in my document and actually adding comments. So that comment there about redundancy, AI / capital expenditure, etc. I didn't write that. Comet highlighted the document and added the comment for me. Now, if you're on the free plan and you don't have access to the agent, you still can have it proofread your documents for you. It'll just give you the feedback in the assistant window as opposed to actually being able to comment on the document. And check this out. Here's my whole document where it made highlights for me and left comments in the margins on what edits I should make for this. This is absolutely wild to me that it did it this well. Another thing I can do is have it just make the changes for me. So I can give it a prompt like switch to suggesting mode and make the suggested changes. We can see it clicked on the mode button there and is actually changing it to the suggesting mode. I could see it highlighting the words. It's running a find and replace to make the fixes. Interesting how it did it that way instead of highlighting it on the page and just adding the new text. But we can see right here that it did just in suggest mode tell me what to change for me, and I didn't make any changes myself. This is still Comet going and doing this for me. Now, it's not the fastest thing in the world right now, but the idea is you could give it a task like this and then go do something else. I could set this task off and running, go proofread this for me and suggest the changes, and I can go and watch TV while it's making those changes, or, you know, get some work done in a different tab. In fact, while that's running, I opened up a new tab with my calendar on it, and you can see up at the top, this other tab here is sort of glowing green to let me know that it's running stuff in the browser on that tab. So I could do other things, like find a time on my calendar for next week for 30 minutes where I can grab a coffee with my friend Joe. It should be after 9 a.m., but before noon, and probably not Monday. Add it to my calendar on the best open time. I can see it's looking at my calendar, so I actually got 2 green glowing bubbles at the top, showing that I've got 2 agents running, doing different tasks for me at the same time. On this screen, it's looking through my calendar for the best time for a coffee meeting, and on this tab here, it's still correcting typos for me. Here we can see it is adding it to my calendar, coffee with Joe, November 11th, and it's changing the time to 10 a.m. And since I specified that it was a 30-minute meeting, it's changing the time from 10 to 10:30. Again, all hands off. I've got multiple tabs just going and doing tasks for me now. And there we go. I've successfully added a 30-minute coffee meeting with Joe to your calendar. Boom, right there on my calendar. And cool. It seems my proofreading is also complete. And here's what we did. I made these 7 changes for you, and it went and changed all the suggested changes from the comments. And now all I have to do is go through and approve the changes that it suggested. So I'll just quickly double check what the AI did and approve it. No harm done if the AI actually made a mistake because I put it in suggesting mode. Comet is a great platform if you do a ton of research as well. If I open up my assistant here, I could create a shortcut that forces it to use the research mode. And if you've ever used Perplexity's research, it's actually pretty good. So I can create a shortcut. Let's do /research as the shortcut name, and then mode, we'll switch it to research. And under sources, let's give it access to academic sources as well. Sure, bring in social discussion and opinions and finance. And now we've got a quick shortcut that's going to use the research mode and search multiple places for the information. So now if I click save, if I do /research here, and I can give it a prompt like, I'm trying to decide if I should invest in Nvidia or Apple. I can only invest in one. Figure out which one is the better investment and break down your reasoning. Submit something like that. And look, it's actually using the research mode, and we can see a little progress bar. It's going to take its time on this one and really go deep for us. And while it's working on that, it's a good time to point out that if you still want to Google things or use DuckDuckGo or use Bing or a different search engine, well, just typing something up into this bar up here will automatically send it to Perplexity. However, if I type google.com space, you can see it changes it to search Google. Now, anything I type here, like for instance, San Diego Padres, will bring me to the Google results page. Now, the same thing also works for DuckDuckGo. So if I type duckduckgo.com and then space, it'll search DuckDuckGo. Same goes for Bing.com and even Yahoo.com. Now, this isn't a feature of Comet specifically. This is something that's built into Chromium. So that also works in Chrome or Atlas or any of the browsers built on top of Chromium. But just thought I'd point that out if you really miss using Google. Every once in a while, I still want to Google something. If I specifically want Google to pull up like the Wikipedia page for something, I still find myself preferring to type that into Google over Perplexity. And this just creates a real easy way to do that. And now we can jump back and see how our research did. And we can see it pulled in stock charts for both Nvidia and Apple. The investment recommendation is Nvidia over Apple. It did a comprehensive analysis here. We can see all of the research it did, even providing additional graphs, breaking up risk considerations here for each, and then finally giving us a verdict on why we should invest in Nvidia over Apple right now. If you do a lot of research on like a daily basis, like I do, this is actually one of my favorite hacks using Feedly. Feedly is an RSS reader where you can toss in your favorite websites and blogs, and it will keep you up to date with any news that comes out of those websites or blogs. And you can see every morning I get a giant list of, roughly 200 to 300 news articles that have come out in the last 24 hours that I like to skim. Feedly also lets you subscribe to newsletters and create a feed of newsletters. You can see I have a feed of newsletters. I'm on some of my favorite AI newsletters, ainews.com, Future Loop, The Rundown, Forward Future, Unwind AI, Ben's Bytes, Superhuman, The Neuron, Alpha Signal. I've subscribed to quite a bit more, but those are the ones that have come in the last 24-ish hours since I've checked in on all the newsletters. Well, I can click on my assistant here, so I can give it a prompt like click into each of the newsletters and give me a list of the news that was mentioned in multiple of the newsletters. If it was only mentioned in one newsletter, I'm not interested. I want just a list of news that was seen across multiple newsletters. I know it's a bit redundant, but sometimes redundancy works with these LLMs just to make sure it focuses. So I'll go ahead and submit that. And we can see it's going to take control of my browser. For some reason, it says it disconnected. I don't know why it does that sometimes, but if I just tell it, please continue, it'll pick up where it left off. And once again, it's taken control of my screen and discontinued again. This was working last night. Why is this not working today? Okay, let me troubleshoot this. I'm gonna pause my recording. I had to restart Comet for whatever reason. Comet was messing up. I restarted it and then it started working. And now we can see that it's taken control of my screen. It's clicking around inside of Feedly. It's scrolling through the newsletters for me. We can see it clicked into the very first newsletter on the list, and it is now reading that newsletter. And it's going to go through and read each of the newsletters that I have in my little Feedly list here. But you can see it's totally doing it under its own control, but I'm going to go ahead and pause and show you the result. And after about 5 minutes or so, we could see it finished reviewing all of the newsletters here, clicked into every single one of them. We can actually see that it's now grayed out because it's clicked into them, and it found that just the news that was mentioned in multiple newsletters. This isn't really like the perfect rule of thumb, but for me, if a piece of news is mentioned in multiple of these newsletters, that's probably the more important news of the last 24 hours. Now, I still click in and read each of these newsletters to find the other sort of nuanced things, because a lot of times these newsletters find things that other newsletters didn't. But this is a great way to get a quick look at the most important news or biggest or the most talked about news for the last 24 hours. The other thing that I do inside of Feedly, and this is like my second Feedly hack if you use Feedly, is I also subscribe to all of the tech blogs, right? I subscribe to like Google's blog here, Meta's blog, GitHub blog, Windows blog, pretty much all of the big tech companies. I'm subscribed to their RSS feeds. Here's Apple, here's Nvidia. I also use Feedly's AI web alerts feature, which is kind of like a Google Alerts, but built into Feedly. And it goes and sort of scours the internet for me for various AI news from places like The Verge and Crunchbase News and Tech Bullion and Engadget. And we can see between the two, it's pulled pulled in about 230 news articles. If I click on all up here, it is going to also include the 10 newsletters, but that's not really going to matter for this next task. I can create a new thread here, and I can give it a prompt like skim all the news in Feedly. Make sure to scroll all the way to the bottom. Give me a roundup of the most reported on news as well as the most interesting news for everyday consumers. I can submit this prompt, and now it's going to scroll the 242 news articles that got pulled into Feedly from the various tech blogs and company websites to find the most important news from the last 24 hours. It's sort of a double check of my newsletters that I just did. Although the newsletters are usually like a day behind. So looking at the newsletters would have been news from the last 24 hours. Looking at this RSS feed is going to be like the most current news, the news that's happened like within the last couple hours. And that was surprisingly quick since it didn't have to click into each of the articles, but we can see most reported on news, Google's AI product blitz, Microsoft AI push. All right, that's all very general, but here's major business and product launches, job market impact news, tech infrastructure news, most interesting news for everyday consumers, entertainment and gaming. It pulled in some stuff that wasn't quite AI, but that's okay. That's going to happen from time to time. Consumer and tech deals, practical tools, streaming and sports, money and finance. It literally skimmed all the way to the bottom and found all the news from the last 24 hours based on all of these RSS feeds here. And if there's a prompt like this that we really like and it works well and we want to use it again in the future, check this out. There's a quick button here. See this little slash save query as shortcut, and I can call this something like skim news, click save. And now next time I'm on Feedly, all I have to do is type slash skim news and it will enter this exact same prompt again and follow the same instructions. It can also do research for you directly in social media. So I'm over on X here, and you can see when I open my assistant, it automatically gives me some suggested prompts for while I'm on X. Generate a reply in the comments, summarize this thread, draft a new post, block my bot followers. They also added in a slash command. If I do slash trending on social and submit this prompt, I want to know about the latest trending topics related to AI, scroll through each of my social media websites that I'm logged into, review the posts from the past 24 hours, and summarize the trending events. Now I'm already on X, so you can see it's starting its to-do list with going through X. It's going to scroll my feed for me, hands-free. I'm not doing anything. We know it's using my computer because of the blue glow. And just as a quick side note, this is a prompt that was built into Comet. I didn't write this prompt. So Comet knows that it's pretty good at this task, so it built in a pre-written shortcut for that prompt. It's now moved on to the checking other platforms step, and you can see up in the top of my screen, it just opened LinkedIn. If I click into this LinkedIn tab, see how it's got the green glow around the box? It's using its agent mode inside of LinkedIn, and it's scrolling the news over here for me now automatically also. I didn't even open that other tab. It did it autonomously. It's now opened a third tab and is browsing Facebook for me. Now it's opened a fourth tab and is skimming Reddit for me. I'm not currently logged into Facebook or Reddit, so it's likely not going to pull any information from those, but it's cool to see that it opened those tabs and tried to look at those for me. The interesting thing is, despite not being logged into Reddit, it's actually still scrolling the Reddit feed to see if it can find some AI related news. Now it's moving on to the summarize findings step, where it's going to tell me everything it found across X, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Reddit, all from just one prompt. And here we've got our roundup in the sidebar. Major AI announcements and product launches, Google AI developments, Heijen's live avatar, Amazon's Alexa Plus AI assistant, some new AI models, things like Kimi K2 and Kriya nodes, new video AI tools, voice AI for content creators, industry developments and research from Anthropic. You want to stay really tapped in on a specific topic? This is the way to do it. Use something like Comet. You've just seen all the ways I'm doing deep dive research and can stay completely looped in by just using an agentic browser here. Jumping back over to X for a second, you can also have it look at a specific profile. So let's just click into my profile for an example here. But if I open up my assistant and give it a prompt like, what is this account's most popular tweet, that it noticed that it's my Twitter or X profile, and it looks like it's just going to scroll. So it says, let me scroll down to see more tweets and compare their engagement. It would be really interesting to see if it goes and uses like one of X's advanced search features or something like that. And after several minutes of it basically just scrolling all of my tweets for me, it came back and found a tweet with 1.3 million views on it. Now let's talk about using it on places like Amazon, a platform where if Amazon had its way, Comet wouldn't be allowed to actually interact with. but as of right now, you still can. Let's say I'm looking at cameras here. I can open up my assistant. Let's start a new thread, and we can see it pre-prompted us with a few things here. Compare prices across sites, find similar products, summarize product reviews. Let's start by comparing prices across sites. Probably the thing Amazon likes the least about what Comet can do. But we can see real quick here, it found it on Amazon, Throne, tech blogs, some Reddit discussions, TikTok, Facebook groups, and it seems to find that Amazon has the best price right now. Cool. Let's find similar products. This product here is basically like a carbon copy clone of the DJI Osmo. I actually think it's designed by the same company. They just like created a new brand to avoid tariffs or something like that. So of course it found the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, as well as some other vlogging cameras that aren't quite the same. And finally, let's ask it, what do the reviews say about this product? I don't even need to scroll down and read the reviews myself. It can just summarize them all for me. Overall rating, 4.5 out of 5, positive highlights, criticism, drawbacks, and the summary/sentiment. So pretty good details about whether or not we should grab this camera. But we can also have Comet take control of the browser for us and place this order. Now, right now it's too slow for it to be faster than you just placing the order yourself, but it can do it. If I give it a prompt like compare this camera to the closest competitor based on reviews and add the best one to my cart, it should take control, as we can see it doing, and create a to-do list to identify closest competitor, read competitor reviews, compare both products, and add the best one to the cart. Again, not going to be the fastest process in the world, so I'll go ahead and just show you the result. While it's doing that, let me show off a few other things. It can actually fill out forms for you. Fill in the details of this form for me, takes control of my screen, and then asks me to give it the responses to the form, which obviously would be just as quick for me to do myself. But when I submit, it will take control of my screen, and it is hands-free filling out this form for me as I watch it do it. And it went through, filled out the form, and brought me to this page where I can click confirm. What would be cool is if it remembered all the information I plugged in the first time, and when I came to a new form, it remembered details like first name, last name, and email, so it can automatically fill those in. But it doesn't do that yet, so although it can fill out forms for you, it's just way more efficient for you to do it yourself still. And jumping back over to our Amazon example here, we can see that it looked at the cameras and based on reviews decided to add the DJI Osmo to our cart, even though it is like $100 more expensive and basically the same camera. The reviews show that this one is the better option and it added it to the cart. Not quite comfortable yet letting it check out on my behalf quite yet. Now, if I'm in Gmail, I can actually have it craft an email for me. We've got the help me write button that's actually built into Gmail now, so the assistant isn't really necessary for this, but just to show you that it can, if we wanted to, write an email to Dave that thanks him for being a nice person. Make it formal and flattering. Give it that prompt. It actually asks me to confirm or change contact. So I'm gonna go ahead and make sure it's going to the correct Dave here. I'll click confirm. We can actually see it's reviewing old emails to try to find context where Dave has been part of the discussion. And well, unfortunately, this process has gotten stuck for about 10 minutes thinking, and I can't imagine it actually takes 10 minutes to think through crafting an email. So this is one feature that I guess Comet claims it can do for you, but for whatever reason is struggling right now. I even reset the browser and came back in, same issue. So supposedly it's supposed to do this, but not working right now for whatever reason. It can also supposedly summarize all of the emails in your inbox. I haven't tried this yet. Unfortunately, I have to blur most of what's in my inbox, but let's see if it can actually summarize the emails in my inbox. Searching for recent emails, we can see that it's pulling up emails, and here's a summary of the most recent emails in your inbox. So that actually works. It just didn't want to craft an email for me when I asked it to. If you're a content creator and you're into repurposing content, Comet is really good at that actually. Let's open up this article on Bloomberg here, open up our assistant, and let's tell it to write a tweet based on the information from this article. And here's the tweet. Apple is teaming up with Google to supercharge Siri using the 1.2 trillion parameter Gemini AI model for a $1 billion a year deal, etc. Added a bunch of hashtags at the end, and we have a tweet that we can copy and paste that shares the news from this Bloomberg article. Similarly, if I wanted to make a video on this article, I can say, create a 5-minute video script that breaks down the news from this article. And a few seconds later, I have a script with all of the details from this article that I can just put into my teleprompter and share in a video. I can go the other direction as well and start from a YouTube video and turn it into a tweet or a blog post. If I click on Assistant, write me a 500-word blog post about the content of this video. And there we go. It wrote a roundup in a blog post form of what I cover in this video. The startup battlefield at TechCrunch Disrupt, some of the companies that I talk about throughout the video, the key takeaways. I could copy and paste this directly over to my blog. And for people who don't like watching YouTube videos, they could go read the blog article with all the same information now. If you're into stock trading, you can actually use this to help you analyze stocks. If I open up my assistant here, we can see analyze today's stock performance, generate a chart analysis for this ticker. But I like to just say, do both technical and fundamental analysis on this stock and report your findings. It'll look at the stock chart, even do some additional research, and then give me a comparison with technical analysis as well as fundamental analysis here. I can also get it to go and do sort of assistant-like tasks for me. For example, find a sushi restaurant in downtown San Diego with high ratings and make a reservation for Saturday at 6 p.m. It's going to take control of my screen. Interestingly, it's actually Googling it for us instead of using Perplexity, but it's searching best sushi restaurants in downtown San Diego. It found some restaurants, clicked into a restaurant, clicked into the booking page, opened up our calendar here, selected Saturday. It's trying to click continue, but 6 o'clock p.m. isn't available and it's not recognizing that yet. It appears to be hung up on the fact that those buttons are grayed out and 6 p.m. isn't selectable and continue isn't selectable, but it hasn't figured out that those buttons aren't clickable because they're grayed out. It just thinks they're regular buttons and it's trying to continue to click them. So another little snag. All right, so it got us to this point. I was hoping it would come back to me and say 6 o'clock isn't available, but 5:30 is. Do you want that slot? I would say yes, and then it would book me in at 5:30, not realizing that these are not buttons. So it can do this work, but you can see there's still a few little snags there. This also works for booking hotel rooms. We're gonna have a very similar experience if I showed you that, but it supposedly can do that as well. It can also manipulate Google Sheets for us. So here's a list of tools that one of my team members sent me to take a peek at. One thing I wanted to do is tell me what the tool name is from the input URL. And I want it to do it by hovering over the tool name here and taking the open graph data to get the title. So it should be able to hover over every URL and grab the title of the product. I actually already created a shortcut for that. I called it fix tool titles. So I'll go ahead and select that shortcut, hit enter, and we can see that there's already a prompt here. For the tool name column, look at the tool name in the OG data from the input URL column and replace the tool name. I basically tell it what to do, and we can see it goes off and does that for us. In a moment here, we will see the mouse hovers over the tool URL to get the open graph title. You can see it actually opened up the tool in a new tab to even get more details about it up here. I didn't tell it to open each tab for each tool and look at the title, but it's doing it on its own. Once again, hovers over another tool to look at the title, and it just went and pasted in all the tool names into the column, took a screenshot to confirm that it did everything correctly, and now it says I've successfully done the thing you told me to do, and it did. Now, I know this seems like a task that would be really fast for me to do myself, but the other day I had a list of 50 tools here, and I needed it to go and find the actual tool name of every single one for me, so I gave it this prompt, and then just opened another tab and started watching YouTube videos while it one at a time went and fixed all the names for me. So yes, it's faster to do it by yourself, but if you think about it as something that you can go and have this running while you do something else, it kind of actually starts to save some time. Now, another example of what I've used this for was I was trying to build an N8N workflow the other day, and I kept running into an error. I couldn't figure out why that error was happening. So I opened up my assistant and said, I keep getting the error that's on the screen in N8N. What's going on? And it actually took control of my screen, started clicking around in N8N, troubleshooting, and found out why I was getting the error, and then suggested fixes for me to get my N8N workflow working. That was really powerful. There were a few other limitations that I ran into. One of the things that I read on another article that Comet is supposed to do is be able to control your tabs. So you should be able to give it a prompt like organize all of my tabs into a folder. And well, Comet kept on trying to look at my browser, but it couldn't see my tabs up here and it couldn't organize my tabs for me. I kept running into that issue. I was also told that it should be able to auto close tabs, and I wasn't able to get that to work either. So there's this Vibe A 3D AI tab, which isn't actually working right now. If I go to a different tab, let's say I'm on this Future Tools tab and I open up my assistant and I tell it to close the Vibe A 3D.ai tab in Comet, I would think it should be able to close that tab for me. me because, well, I read it should be able to, and it was able to open that tab for me. But my past tests, it wouldn't actually do that. So let's see if it does it this time. See, it says I can see available tabs, but I don't see a tab for Viba 3D. And we can clearly see that there is a tab open. So it's not able to see what tabs are open, but it is able to open new tabs. All right, I'm gonna stop there with use cases. I could honestly go on for a very long time, and I know this video is already one of my longer videos, so I should probably go ahead and cut myself off here, but I will give you a few extra tips before we go ahead and close this one out. Tip number one, if you find a prompt you're using often, create a shortcut for it. You can do that by entering a prompt and then saving it as a shortcut, or by typing / and clicking create shortcut and typing a brand new prompt. Super helpful to have like a library of prompts that you use often. Don't forget that you can change the model you're using at any time. So if you don't like Perplexity's model picker, you can always type /GPT-5 and force it to use GPT-5. There's also Grok, there's Gemini, and there's Claude. So you can pick between any of those models and force it to use that model at any time if you want. You do need to be careful using Comet. There is still a small risk of prompt injection. Basically, if you go to like a website and the website has instructions for what an AI should do, and you give control to the agent and the agent reads that website, it might think that the instructions on the website are instructing the agent on what to do next. And that would be like a simple example of a prompt injection attack. So I wouldn't recommend using the agent mode on websites you don't trust. Now, I've only used it in this on like Google Sheets and Amazon and places that I know aren't going to use a prompt injection attack. Although even some of those sites, there are risks. Like people can put prompt injection attacks in reviews on Amazon, for instance. So just be very careful and aware that that is actually possible. Also, keep in mind that these models still aren't perfect. They will still sometimes hallucinate. Most of the time it gets things correctly based on the source of the information in the open window, but I have had scenarios where it would tell me something was in a document. I read the document and the thing it said was in the document just wasn't there. So if there's any sort of like mission critical work you're doing, or you're going to be publishing information online based on your research, definitely double check in those scenarios because there is still a small chance that it will hallucinate. And that's my tips and breakdown of all the different ways you can use Perplexity's Comet browser. In my opinion, the release of a browser like this should be like a ChatGPT moment for a lot of people, where all of a sudden the world is open to all sorts of new automation possibilities for them. Like that feeling you got when ChatGPT was released and you're like, oh my gosh, I know Kung Fu now. Well, we should be able to have that feeling with Comet because there's so much we can do with tools like this. Anytime you have a struggle that's happening in your browser, you open up your assistant and it will help you work through that struggle. The biggest bottleneck that I see right now for agentic browsers like this, and even Atlas and the browser company browsers, is just speed. They're still kind of slow to go and do these tasks for us. They're great for doing a task that you don't know how to do. Like my N8N example where I kept running into an issue and I couldn't figure it out. It was great to open up the assistant, let the assistant take control and solve the problem for me, even though it was slow. I didn't know how to solve the problem, and I would rather have a slow solution than just no solution at all. However, if it's a task that you already know how to do manually, this is just going to do it slower than how you would do it manually. Where it starts to get powerful is if you get it doing a whole bunch of tasks simultaneously. So like an example where it's proofreading a document for you, it's skimming your emails for you, it's booking a call on your calendar on your behalf, and it's going and doing all of those things simultaneously. You open up one assistant, give it a prompt, open up another, give it a prompt, open up another, give it a prompt, and your browser is just going off and doing all sorts of tasks simultaneously. That's where it starts to feel powerful. But I feel like a lot of people aren't going to really jump on board and get really excited about it until it starts to do all of these normal day-to-day tasks a lot faster than I would be able to do them myself if I just clicked around and did the things. But people like you who watch videos like this are going to be on the cutting edge. You know what's coming. You see it all happening because you watch this channel, and just knowing about Comet and starting to use platforms like Comet or Atlas, you're going to be well ahead of the curve of the majority of the world when they all start to find out how powerful this stuff is. And if you want to stay ahead of the curve, curve and stay looped in on stuff like this, make sure you like this video and subscribe to this channel. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, nerding out with me. I know this was a longer than normal video, but I've been honestly blown away by Comet and been having so much fun exploring the depths of what it can do. And hopefully you're on board now too. This video is not sponsored by Perplexity. I've just started using it and found myself going back to it more and more to the point where I'm really not using the regular Chrome anymore. But that's what I got for you today. Really, really appreciate you. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for nerding out. Hopefully you follow along to this channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.
Get your ass up and work.
Thank you so much for nerding out with me today. If you like videos like this, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel. I'll make sure more videos like this show up in your YouTube feed. And if you haven't already, check out futuretools.io, where I share all the coolest AI tools and all the latest AI news. And there's an awesome free newsletter. Thanks again. Really appreciate you. See you in the next one.